Hey, BookTube Sean here, and first of all, you might hear my neighbor mowing, so unfortunately this is the time I have to film, and they decided to mow right when I was about to start the camera. So anyway, today's video is going to be a book haul, and I'm actually going to have a few book haul videos coming at you, one physical, one library, and maybe one or two Kindle hauls. I may have to split that up into two, but this is going up in the spot where my weekend books would normally go up. I don't have a lot to talk about this week, and I think I may end up going to a more traditional split up wrap up haul. Am reading kind of videos, at least for a little while, just because I'm not reading in a manner that is conducive to make it worth making the weekly video right now. So I think I'm going to be going to more of the traditional style, or BookTube traditional style wrap ups and all separate videos for that stuff once or twice a month. We'll see. But obviously no my weekend books this week, and probably I can't continue to put it out every 2 weeks and call it my weekend books. So that's just one minor change that's happening to the channel for a little while at least. I just got some other things I'm doing, and it's stuff kind of eats into reading time, and sometimes when I have reading time, I just don't feel like reading. So that, like I said, I've just not been reading in a way that's conducive or makes it worth doing the weekly videos right now. So, but I'm still gonna have content. Still gonna try to have content coming out every week in the form of hauls, or maybe mid-month wrap-ups, stuff like that, and review videos. And I know review videos don't get especially a ton of initial views, but I kind of enjoy making them, and I want to get better at them too. So the only way to get better at something is to do it. So, anyway, let's get into the haul. This is physical books that I have purchased or gotten my hands on. I went to a library sale today, so I got some there, and I've gotten one from an author and a couple that I ordered. So let's get into it. The first one I actually got today, not at the library book sale. My wife had an audition in a town called Ferndale here, and so there's a big bookstore in Detroit called John King Books. It's a big 4-story bookstore. It's been voted one of the best used bookstores in the world. And I've actually never been there, but they have a secondary store in Ferndale, much smaller secondary store in Ferndale, kind of an annex of it. So I went there while my wife was doing her audition. And what I wanted to check out the horror section and see if I could get some of the old, 70s, 80s paperbacks from hell. And the horror section was vastly disappointing. I want to go to the big 4-story one in Detroit. It's 3 or 4 stories in Detroit, and check out their horror section. So hopefully they might be a little bit better with the horror section. But the annex, it was King, Kuntz, Rice, and a smattering of a couple other things. So that was just, they didn't even have, they had like one Clive Barker even. So that was disappointing. I kind of expected them to have more stuff, especially the older stuff, because they're a used and rare shop. So anyway, but I did find one thing. If you've been with my channel for a while, and my year on BookTube is coming up mid-month this month, so I got to think of something to do for that. probably most likely to, hey, it's been a year. But I'll try and think of something to do for that. Anyway, so I did get, like I said, what I was saying is, if you've been with my channel for a while, you know that I collect classic movie star biographies. And it gets hard sometimes. Like, I'll be in a section, and I have ones that I know I've seen before, but sometimes I can't remember if I own it or I've just seen it before and wasn't able to purchase it. Like, there was 2 Ingrid Bergman biographies there, and I know I have one of them, but I wasn't sure which one I had, so I just didn't buy it. But what I did buy is one I have not come across before, and that is Jolson by Michael Friedland, Al Jolson biography. And what was cool about this is, when I opened it up, somebody left a newspaper article about Al Jolson in it. I don't know when this is from. It doesn't have a date on it. Yeah, nothing has a date on it. But there was this cool, I haven't even read it yet, but there's this cool little newspaper article about Al Jolson. Inside, just on the inside cover of the biography. So that's kind of a cool thing to add to my collection. Those of you who may not know, Al Jolson was the star of The Jazz Singer, which is known as the first talkie. The film that brought cinema out of the silent era. The next thing I have is, this was mentioned in my Reading Women Challenge video, and this is The Chosen Maiden by Eva Stashniak, which I learned is a Canadian author. So not only does this fill the story set in Russia or by a Russian author challenge, it would also fulfill the Canadian or Australian author challenge. So if I don't get to the dry, which I think I'm going to, and I get to this, this would fulfill both of those. So 2 countries, 1 book. And I have a description of that in the Reading Women Challenge video, which I will link in the description. I may even try to do one of those card things up here. I've never done that before. I may try to start doing that. I don't know which side it ends up on. But and speaking of the Reading Women Challenge, I picked up the read-along book for that, Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. I've never read any Virginia Woolf. My entire experience with Virginia Woolf is the play Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee, which is a fantastic play. If you've never read it or seen it, do so. It's really, even the movie is really good. Great play. But yeah, so I'll be interested to actually read some actual Virginia Woolf. This is, like I said, this is the read-along for the challenge. Kendra Winchester is hosting it, and I think the plan is to do it. It's about a 200-page book, slightly under, so I think she said the plan is to do 50 pages a week, so I'm going to try to keep up with that. And I was sent a book by an author. The publicist reached out to me and had the author send me the book. Excuse me, and it sounded interesting. And it is called Pigeon Blood Red. The author is Ed Duncan, and that's a really cool cover too. So I'll read the description for you. It is, for underworld enforcer Richard Rico Sanders, it seemed like an ordinary job. Retrieve his gangster boss's priceless pigeon blood red ruby necklace and teach the double-dealing cheat who stole it a lesson. A job like 100 before it. But the chase quickly goes sideways and takes Rico from the mean streets of Chicago to sunny Honolulu, where the hardened hitman finds himself in uncharted territory when a couple of innocent bystanders are accidentally embroiled in the crime. As Rico pursues his new targets, the hunter and his prey develop an unlikely respect for one another, and Rico is faced with a momentous decision. Follow his order to kill the couple whose courage and character have won his admiration, or refuse and endanger the life of the woman he loves. Sounds kind of cool. Definitely worth reading and reviewing, I think. So that's Pigeon Blood Red by Ed Duncan, and sometime within the next couple of months, look for a review video of this. Now, I went to a library used book sale. My local library had a used book sale today, and I picked up some stuff there. So you're gonna see me bend down occasionally because it's all in the bag right here. So I'm just gonna be taking it out of the bag as I go. First one is The Girl Who Saved the King of Sweden by Jonas Jonasson, and I'm not exactly sure, he's Swedish, so I may not have pronounced that right. And this is by the author who wrote The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared, which you have seen me, which I have hauled in the past, and I haven't gotten to that book. It's still one I want to get to. They're all ones I want to get to. Too many books, too little time. But this one, I almost passed this one up because I hadn't read 100-Year-Old Man yet, so I wasn't sure if I liked Jonas Jonasson. But I'll read the description, and the description sounded cool. In a tiny shack in the largest township in South Africa, Nombeko Maeki is born. Put to work at 5 years old and orphaned at 10, she quickly learns that the world expects nothing more from her than to die young, be it from drugs, alcohol, or just plain despair. But Nombeko has grander plans. She learns to read and write, and at just 15, using her cunning and fearlessness, she makes it out of Soweto with millions of smuggled diamonds in her possession. Then things take a turn for the worse. Nombeko ends up the prisoner of an incompetent engineer in a research facility working on South Africa's secret nuclear arsenal. Yet the unstoppable Nombeko pulls off a daring escape to Sweden, where she meets twins named Holger 1 and Holger 2, who are carrying out a mission to bring down the Swedish monarchy by any means necessary. Nombeko's life ends up hopelessly intertwined with the lives of the twins, and when the twins arrange to kidnap the Swedish king and prime minister, it is up to our unlikely heroine to save the day, and possibly the world. In this wild romp, Jonasson tackles issues ranging from the pervasiveness of racism to the dangers of absolute power, while telling a charming and hilarious story along the way. And the satirical voice that has earned him legions of fans over the world, Jonasson gives us another rollicking tale of how even the smallest of decisions can have sweeping, even global consequences. That sounded like a fun story. And I know I know that he has a humorous angle to his writing too. So there's some sticker stuff up here I'm going to have to work on. But somebody gave me a tip for that once, and if I don't remember what it is, and I don't know what video it was in the comments. So if the person who gave me that tip is watching this video, the tip on removing gunk, actually I might remember what video it is. I might have to search. But anyway, if you're watching, can you please let me know in the comments the tip again, or if any of you have a tip and you weren't that person, still please leave it in the comments, because I know I've got a couple of books that I've got some sticker stuff to get off of. Anyway, next is The Shipping News by Annie. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but she should be the author should be familiar to a lot of people. This is a Pulitzer Prize winning book, and Stephanie at That's What She Read recently read this, and she really enjoyed it. She already read it with Devin and Indie Insomniac. I never heard Devin's opinion of it, but I know Stephanie enjoyed it, and Stephanie and I have pretty similar tastes, so I think it's something I'll enjoy. I also had read the back of it when I went to Boston. There was this whaling museum there. Excuse me. And on a table in one of the rooms, there was some books on whaling and stuff, and this book was sitting there. Now, I don't know if this book has anything to do with whaling. I don't remember seeing that in the description. I don't know if it was there on purpose or if somebody just accidentally left it there. But it sounded interesting to me then. And then when Stephanie said that she really enjoyed it, that put it back on my radar. So for 75 cents, it's got a little damage right here, but for 75 cents, it's in pretty good condition for a 75-cent book. Next, I got A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. And again, this is a Pulitzer Prize winner. And this I need for the Read Harder Challenge. It is for the category book by a posthumous award winner. And John Kennedy Toole won the Pulitzer Prize for this after he passed away. So, this description is short. A Confederacy of Dunces is an American comic masterpiece. John Kennedy Toole's hero is one Ignatius J. Riley, huge, obese, fractious, fastidious, a latter-day Gargantua, and Don Quixote of the French Quarter. His story bursts with wholly original characters, denizens of New Orleans' lower depths, incredibly true-to-life dialogue, and the zaniest series of high and low comic adventures. And this, if you saw my space opera review, you heard me say that in that book, I felt that there was too much extraneous language to try and make it a zany story. I have read a little bit of this. I had it out from the library at one point, and I got about, I think, 50 pages in or so, and then it had to go back to the library before I could get to any more of it. But there's a little bit of that in this, but from what I remember of this, this is an example of it being done well. There's a zany, from what I remember, there's a zaniness in the language and a little extra language, a little bit of stream of consciousness writing, but not overly done to the point where you lose the plot. And but I just learned that space opera got optioned for a movie, so what do I know? Again, that was just my opinion. Okay, next is 3 books, actually. I was able to get books 2, 3, and 4 of the Witcher series. The Time of Contempt, which is book 2, Baptism of Fire, which is book 3, and The Tower of Swallows, which is book 4. And I hadn't intended on getting this in physical book form, but for 75 cents a piece, I couldn't pass that up because it cost me $10 a piece on Kindle. And that's kind of what I tend to do, is even though I favor my Kindle for reading, and I probably should just stop buying physical books because I favor my Kindle. I buy whichever edition is the lowest cost. And that's just how I do it. Unless I absolutely love the cover and I need to have that cover in my life. If I can get the physical for 75 cents a piece, that's what I'm going to do. And not spend $30 on the Kindle versions. And that's the other thing, is I have trouble. Kindle prices are getting up to $14, $15 for the new books that come out, and for the Kindle editions. I have a hard time spending that much money for a digital copy of a book. I just do. That's too much for a digital version. It just is. I got another Barbara Kingsolver book, Flight Behavior. I know there's not. I guess there's a description over here, but I'm running long, so I wasn't planning on this video being this long. Barbara Kingsolver, Flight Behavior. I have her The Poisonwood Bible that I need to read, which is actually one I want to read for the Read Harder Challenge, for the post-colonial literature category. I don't remember. I know Stephanie, that's what she recently read a Barbara Kingsolver, and I don't remember which one it was, but she enjoyed it and enjoyed her writing style. And like I said, her and I have very similar tastes. So I felt, for 75 cents, I felt fairly confident in just grabbing another Barbara Kingsolver book. So now I have 2 of hers to check out. This is one I have been interested in for a while, and it's got a really quick blurb that really explains not a lot, but I'll read it. But it's The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks. Meet Frank Caldham, just 16 and unconventional to say the least. 2 years after I killed Blythe, I murdered my young brother, Paul, for quite different and more fundamental reasons than I disposed of Blythe. And then a year after that, I did for my young cousin Esmeralda, more or less on a whim. That's my score to date, 3. I haven't killed anybody for years, and I don't intend to ever again. It was just a stage I was going through. This book's been on my radar for a while, so I'm glad to finally be able to check it out. And as I do, and these ones I will read the description of, every time I go to a library book sale, I try to look for things like automatically, on the table, the normal authors or the authors I know are going to stick out to me, and that'll be my first scan of the tables is things that have been on my radar. But I always try to look for something that I haven't heard of, that I haven't seen on BookTube, that's just catches my eye, and the description catches me, and it just sounds like a good story, so I'll check it out. I had 1 or 2 of those in my last library haul, and I have a couple of them this time. This is The Glass Blower by Petra Durst-Benning. And it is. In the village of Lauscha in Germany, things have been done the same way for centuries. The men blow the glass and the women decorate and pack it. But when glassblower Just Steinman passes away unexpectedly one September night, his 3 daughters must learn to fend for themselves. While feisty Johanna takes a practical approach to looking for work, Ruth follows her heart, aiming to catch the eye of a handsome young villager. But it is dreamy, quiet Marie who has always been the most captivated by the magic and sparkling possibilities of the craft of glassblowing. As the spirited sisters work together to forge a brighter future for themselves on their own terms, they learn not only how to thrive in a man's world, but how to remain true to themselves and their hearts in the process. This looks like it was published by Amazon Crossing. It's by Petra Durst-Benning, and it's translated by Samuel Wilcox. This looks like it would fit the category... Yes, it would definitely fit the category of a book in translation for the women's challenge. You wouldn't get the bonus points of it being translated by a woman, but it is written by a woman and it is about women. And it's a translated work, so it would definitely work for that category. So if I read this before I read The Vegetarian, which I doubt, then that's what I'll use. But anyway, and the other one I picked up is Those Who Save Us by Jenna Bloom. And it is, for 50 years, Anna Schlemmer has refused to talk about her life in Germany during World War II. Her daughter Trudy was only 3 when she and her mother were liberated by an American soldier and went to live with him in Minnesota. Trudy's sole evidence of the past is an old photograph, a family portrait showing Anna, Trudy, and a Nazi officer. Trudy, now a professor of German history, begins investigating the past and finally unearths the heartbreaking truth of her mother's life. Those Who Save Us is a profound exploration of what we endure to survive and the legacy of shame. And that just sounded like a nice story. And again, one I hadn't seen on BookTube 1,000 times or ever, and hadn't heard of before. And that's really my last scan of a library book sale is always looking for things like this, things that I haven't heard of that just sound like good stories. And that's it. That is this book haul. This video ended up longer than I intended it to be, but most of my videos do that, so I'm right on the mark of where my videos normally are. Anyway, if you liked this, then leave me a comment. If you've read any of these, leave me a comment. I'd like to know what you think about these. If you've read any of them, if you're interested in any of them. Yeah, it's been barely a week since I filmed, and I've lost my entire ability to close out these videos. Anyway, thank you to all my subscribers. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm happy to have you. You want to make sure to know when I post new videos. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you all in my next video.